What's going on, guys? Magdallan here with the final part in my trilogy of guides on the 3.18 Explode Righteous Fire Inquisitor. If you like the music you heard at the beginning with the gameplay footage, there's a link to my music channel in the description where you can go to hear more stuff like that. I also stream on Twitch Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Central Time. Today we're going to talk about high investment. We started at about 20x, and then in the mid-level investment guide I took it up to about 60 or 70 and stuff started to really feel good. Now we've got well over 170 invested in the build, and everything is online. I'm able to farm up all the currency I need. I can do pretty much whatever content I want within reason, and everything is good. So I'm going to go over the changes that I made to the build and to the farming strategy itself, and then I'm going to suggest some possible upgrades that you could do either instead of what I've done or in addition to it to take the build to the min-max level. So please hit that like and subscribe button, and we're going to waste no time and get right into the Atlas passive tree. Alright, we'll go over the entire tree here real quick. I'm not 100% sure exactly which nodes have changed since the last one, and a lot of this is gear dependent, so we'll just real quick run through it. We're still doing strong boxes, and I'm still coming through these shrine nodes, grabbing the Harbinger, but now we're coming down here and grabbing these Legion nodes. Still blocking this stuff. And then we're going to come over here and block these guys. Swing up here. Harbinger nodes. Strong boxes here. Over here, influence, more Legion here. Influence. Come through the breach. Grab your shrine nodes here. Harbinger here. Strong box. Then we're going to come through. Grab this Delirium node, swing through here and down, and grab these Beyond nodes. And this has been working pretty well for me. I'll go a little bit more into why I take a couple of the specific nodes in a minute, but that's essentially what I'm running now at this gear level. And then in terms of our Scarabs, I'm running Harbinger, Breach, Legion, and Divination. I always do Domination on the map device. And our Sextons are Harbinger, and then 3 random pack size ones. In this case, I think I just have chaos damage, cold damage, and lightning damage. But anything that adds monsters will do. You could also, of course, put Beyond on, as well as unique monsters drop corrupted items, Delirium reward bars fill faster. All of those things are great and will increase your currency gains. I just don't feel the need to do all the trading that's required to have that stuff. So let's talk about the changes that I made to the build. The most obvious one is the Headhunter, and that changes the way that we do things in a couple ways. First off, we're taking Valley of Darkness, and the reason I didn't go over that in the bit at the beginning there is you really wouldn't need this, obviously, unless you have a Headhunter. Why would you want more Arch Nemesis crap in your map if you don't have to? But once you have the Headhunter, it's really crazy. And I'm finding that using this in conjunction with the Legion nodes, even though Legion is not optimal in Crimson Temple, it's big fun, lots of buffs going around, and it seems to me that the monoliths tend to spawn close to the beginning of the map. And so it's another way that we can quickly get our buffs going, especially after we've grouped up a bunch of shit without the RF on, so that we can pop the Sentinels, all of that stuff. It works really well together, even if there is in some sense a efficiency loss or something by using Legion in a map that it is not particularly well suited for. Another thing that we did is I dropped some exalts on some of my gear pieces, which isn't really a high investment thing, but it just isn't something I normally do until later in the league when I have lots of extra. So we did the necklace and got tier 1 spell damage. Pretty cool. Doesn't help RF damage, but still cool to hit a tier 1. We did the chest and got strength, which is not very awesome. But we did the ring and we got 8% increased area of effect, which I didn't even know was in the pool. And we've kind of been trying to do lots of AoE this league, and I was really happy to get that. So yeah, that was cool. Another change that we made is we pushed to 98 because Headhunter gives us so many defensive buffs that it was very easy to do so. And the order of operations is I first used Orbs of Conflict to get +3 max fire res on the chest implicit instead of +2. That allowed me to spec out of this node here without a significant feeling of, defensive loss. So with those 3 points and the one that we got from leveling, we finally, at long last, have added the final part of our cluster setup. And pretty standard Flow of Life and Student of Decay. We may try and find something to give us a little bit more AoE, but this, I think, is probably the correct choice. I think I paid 3 or 4x, probably a little bit more than you would have to, because I needed Ellie Res. And that is a thing that is something you are going to have to solve out for. The res is a little bit tight this league, so I actually have a couple jewels. Where are they at? They hide now. I have a couple jewels that have a fire res roll instead of another damage roll, which is cheaper, but less damage, obviously. And so I considered even just not having capped res during this video, but I thought for the purposes of it just being tidy, so that nobody is copying literally 1 for 1 and then going, okay, but why do I only have 70 lightning res instead of, whatever it's supposed to be. And so that's, for that purpose, I went ahead and capped it, but I don't think you even have to. I'm consistently running around with 90 all res across the board once I get the buffs going in map from Headhunter. And you have endurance charges that are going to be generated when you kill mobs, and we have a life resistance flask. So it's really, it was just for the purpose of the video that I got those jewels and made sure that it was capped when I'm standing in the hideout. I don't think that's a thing that you have to stress out about a whole lot. The last thing I want to talk about is potential future upgrades that you could make to take this character to the min-max level, whatever you want to call the level of investment that is getting into the crazy territory. You can go for a +2 scepter, and if you want to get really crazy, you can get Malevolence Aura of Effect on them as well. Those are very expensive, but obviously that'll be a huge damage increase. I would expect you should probably be able to get 20 to 25% more damage from a mirror tier or sub-mirror tier scepter. Another option is to go for a +2 amulet or an Ashes. I would think the +2 amulet with something like elevated area damage, or potentially even 2 different types of multi. In an event, that would be very, very big. Again, I would expect another probably 15-20% damage if you got a really crazy one. But again, you're talking hundreds of exalts or stuff like that. Another option is push the character to level 100 and then use 4 points from somewhere, and you can travel up here and start a second cluster. And that can actually start to get pretty crazy. You can get a lot of AoE that way, and probably the way that you would do that is reorganize stuff and drop some life and supplement that with just way more damage. You might be able to fit in another Flow of Life or 2, depending on how crazy you want to go with optimizing your tree. That's a level of attention to detail I typically don't go with, but that is a way that you can push the character a little further. The chest piece, you can get all kinds of insane stuff. But I would say that the way that I would approach it if I had infinite money, or if I was going to not make another character and just farm with the setup I have now for the next month or so, I would get a chest that looks like this, but has an additional curse. And then I would buy a set of Asenath's Gentle Touch that are corrupted with the elemental weakness curse on hit, and some kind of a plus something to gem levels, duration, whatever it is. And then I would run it that way. So you would be getting a ton more damage there that would help your single target. Extra curses is always cool. Another thing you could do is go for the Giga RF helm and go to a more standard setup where the RF is in the helmet and you've got the 6-link for single target going, instead of the way that I have it here with the fire trap in the helmet. And people are out of control with the recombinators. I have seen some absolutely criminal RF helms up for sale this week. Stuff that I don't remember ever seeing before in League. Stuff that looks like meme Reddit posts from Standard. So yeah, that's the advice that I would have in terms of where you can push the character from here. But for me, this is the package. This is the completed product. The tooltip is still significantly lower than the character that I made last week, but it just doesn't seem to matter. The Headhunter carries in damage and defense. I don't feel compelled to spend that extra to go up to that last milestone, because the character runs so smooth and is so fun to play that it made sense to simply farm currency and make another build. I've got this guy here, so if I make something else and I don't like it, I can fall back on this. I know the character works, everything's great. I don't feel like my entire bank account is, connected to this one character for the entire league. And that was sort of our goal in the first place, was to accomplish farming the same types of content that we did last week on a character with a mage blood and 50 to 100x in almost every slot, including jewels and whatever else. And see if we could get that done on a fraction of that budget. And ultimately, I'm pretty happy with what we were able to accomplish this league, especially given the first week being as difficult as it was, with them trying to figure out exactly how they wanted to balance the Arch Nemesis mods. So for me, this will be the last sort of guide video, I think, for this character for the league. I'm moving on to, I believe, a Tornado Shot character is our next project. As I've said before, I have the stuff ready to level the character with Hollow Palm, and I have started to acquire stuff for the build. We've got our Omni here, and we dropped another Apothecary last night and a Mirror Shard, and so we've got quite a few Exalt laying around then in potential liquid Exalt that we could use to start looking at getting some kind of a bow going on. And then we'll probably put the rest of that stuff together and try and make some guides for you with that character. But yeah, even though for now at least I'll be sort of stepping away from the RF as my main progression-based thing that I'm doing, I anticipate I'll still probably play the character pretty frequently throughout the rest of the week, because it just is so fun to play, and it just works so well for what we've been doing. The only problem is the interaction with the Sentinels. I never did come up with what I would consider to be a perfect solution for that problem. It ended up being, leave the RF off, kind of run around, and that's not ideal. And so I'm hoping that with the next character, I can maybe give up a little bit of tankiness and lean a little bit harder into the Headhunter and have damage that I can more reliably just trigger with the right click and see how that goes. And so I hope that you found something useful in one of these 3 guides. A quick thank you to all of the extra viewers that we've gotten for these videos. I had never anticipated I was going to get 20,000 views on a Righteous Fire guide video when I started doing this stuff a few months back. And so that's been really gratifying and cool. So, yep, I will be back very soon with another video. I will see you then. Appreciate you.